Hey guys, today we're going to talk a little bit about trumpet mouthpieces, and really what we talk about today in trumpet mouthpieces will actually apply to all brass mouthpieces, okay? So you can take this to French horn, trombone, baritone, tuba, whatever. It's all kind of the same thing. So there's a few variables that really matter in trumpet. That's going to be the rim width, both inner and outer diameter, the cup depth, and then the shape and tightness, which is kind of the opening of the backbore and the throat, okay? But the things that we're going to really talk about for you guys to learn and that you'll share with your customers is we're going to talk about cup depth and rim width, okay? So a couple things on rim width. The first thing is when we talk trumpet mouthpiece rims, we have what we call an inner rim and an outer rim. So the inner rim is the inside here that kind of turns into the cup, and then the outer rim is going to be this outside section here. So the larger that rim is, usually the more comfortable the mouthpiece feels to the player, but it may not allow as much flexibility in moving between partials. Because with a brass instrument, if you'll remember, while we can press buttons or move a slide to change pitch, a lot of it is done with our air and with our lips. So a flatter rim, what we sometimes call a cushion rim, can feel more comfortable in the face, but can sometimes take away from flexibility. But some people are willing to make that trade. What's really important with the rim size, though, there's two things. One is you've got to make sure that the inner diameter is large enough so that when the player puts it on his face, that it's covering the very top part of the red of their lips. It's above that. It's into the white area here, okay? So it's got to be large enough so that it gets up there. You don't want a player setting it down so it's on the red of their lips like that. Now, of course, it's going to be on the red on the sides because that's just the only way to do it. But you want it on the top lip where it's not here, but here. So you got to have it large enough for that. And then the other consideration after that is really just the type of sound you want. So I think the easiest way to explain this to most of you, since many of you are guitar players, is to think of a guitar string. So with a guitar string, you can play pretty much the same note and even pitch on almost anywhere on the fretboard with any of the strings. But on the thinner strings, the sound is brighter and clearer, and on the thicker strings, the sound is warmer, darker, maybe even sometimes almost kind of muddy. Well, it's kind of the same thing with trumpet mouthpieces, okay? So the larger this inner diameter, the more of your lip gets involved. That's like having more string. So your sound's going to be a little darker and warmer, okay? And then conversely, the smaller the inner diameter, the little bit less of your lip that gets in there, and so the sound's going to be a little bit brighter and a little bit thinner. So that's a player preference. The final variable that we're going to talk about is cup depth. And for many mouthpieces, like the Bach mouthpieces, the first number, the 3, is talking about the inner diameter, and the letter is referring to cup depth. So C is sort of their standard medium depth cup. And for Bach, the lower the letter, the deeper the cup. And the higher the letter, the shallower the cup. So a Bach 3D, for example, would be shallower than a Bach 3C. That makes sense. And then with a Schilke, they do the exact opposite. So on a Schilke 14A4A, the first two combinations there, the 14's talking about width, and I think the Schilke is a little more intuitive. So the larger the number of a Schilke, the larger the inner rim. So a 13A4A is smaller than a 14A4A. And that second letter, the A, is talking about cup depth. And the smaller the letter, the smaller the cup. So A is the shallowest cup they make. They actually make a double A, but for most times you'll see an A. And then a D cup would be deeper than what it shows on the mouthpiece. Okay? So why different cup depths? It does a couple things. One, the deeper cup gives you a darker sound again, but it's less efficient. And it makes playing higher and louder more challenging, which can tax the player's endurance. But some people want that sound, and they want that ability to, when they're in their upper register especially, to have a nice, pretty sound without it being too bright. The shallower cup is more efficient, and it makes playing in the upper register easier, but the sound is different. The sound is brighter, more piercing, more cutting. It can also make it easier to play up there, which can give the player more endurance. For some situations, you want those changes in sound. If you're playing lead trumpet in a jazz band or in a pet band or something like that, you want that really piercing, bright sound to cut through the ensemble. But if you're playing maybe in an orchestra or a wind ensemble, certainly a wind ensemble in high school, that piercing bright sound would be inappropriate, so you want kind of a deeper cup depth. So I'll play a little bit for you just so you can hear the difference. We'll see if you can hear the difference. We'll try. So this is the standard box 7C that we usually rent with every instrument, and you'll get a sense for just kind of what this will normally sound like. Nice, full, even sound. And then here's a Schilke 14A 4A. So hopefully you hear that the Schilke is brighter and louder, and in some situations that's perfectly appropriate, but for other things, box 7C, 5C, 3C would be better. So hopefully you learned a little bit about this. Remember, all these things, these basic mechanics apply to the other brass instruments as well, mouthpieces as well. So you can take this and apply that. So when you have a kid come to you and say, I'm playing first chair in jazz band, and my teacher told me to get a new mouthpiece, what should I get? We're thinking generally a shallower cup. You want to find a rim that's big enough that fits on their face, and a shallower cup to help them play. The Schilke 14A4A is a very good choice for that. Some stores also have the Yamaha Bobby Shoe Lead, which is an excellent mouthpiece for that too. A quick note on that, when a kid's playing these shallower mouthpieces, tell them to first start here a little more relaxed than they normally would, because they're used to having to work more with their face on this deeper mouthpiece. But with this, the mouthpiece is helping you do the work, so that's kind of a tip. Tell them to loosen up here a little bit in the middle. If a kid's saying he's moving into wind ensemble in high school, and his instructor told him to get something better than different than a 7C, it's wind ensemble. You probably want to look at something like a 3C, and that'll give them a little bit more inner diameter here to get a little more lip in for a little bit thicker, fuller sound, but still maintain that C cup for a nice balanced sound. All right, hope that helps, and take your quiz, and I wish you luck.